Today, we're fortunate to be joined by Mr. John Lee. He's the CEO of Silver Elephant Mining. They have a 100 million plus silver ounce project in Bolivia and present what I believe to be an unbelievable value opportunity and growth opportunity in silver. John, welcome to Ron's Basement.
Thank you for the invite. Good to be back, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. So I can't believe this when I look at the numbers for your company. I'm an old accountant from a Big Four accounting firm, and I'm seeing right now about a $7 million market capitalization in US dollars and 100 million ounce deposit in the ground in Bolivia. What is the dislocation right now between the stock price and what the company is doing, the assets that the company has, and you're actually producing silver? Is that correct?
Right, Ron. People say, what's the cash? There's no cash, Ron. The project had over $50 million of prior investment. It had a feasibility study on the project and over 100,000 meters of drilling. That's a tremendous amount of meterage just being drilled. The company's been operating and it's been developing the assets of Elephant since 2016, being 8 years. We've recruited and retained the prior management team in Bolivia in the ground. So collectively, we've had a long-standing, over 20 years of relationship with the local community. We were at various points the largest employer of the town of the name of the town called Pulacayo. Of itself has a very long mining tradition. It's the silver from Pulacayo that financed the Spanish railway and the Spaniards to conquer the world back in the 1800s. It is a mining town. It's a mining tradition. We have a very cordial relationship with them, and we are mining silver right now, Ron. The operation started in October, and in December we hit the peak rates of 1,000 tons per day of mining materials. Right now, the material is trucked to a joint venture partner at their plant about 20 kilometers away. The eventual business model is to build a plant at the mine so we can capture more of that upside on the silver price.
So I'm going to ask you to explain this to me. You have this massive deposit. There's been tens of millions of dollars spent drilling it, defining it. You know the silver is there. But there's two components to this deposit. There's an upper layer and a lower layer. So the upper layer is called oxide material that includes silver, and the lower layer is called sulfide material, which is a little bit deeper. The oxide material on the top requires a specific type of processing plant to get the silver out of it. And it's easy to get to because it's near the surface. So you've entered into a joint venture, I guess you can call it, with a company, a big mining company called Andean, and they are trucking that surface layer, which is maybe only 5 or 6% of the total deposit, but they're taking that for you, bringing it to their plant, processing it, and they're paying you to do that. The Silver Elephant's not really incurring any expenses. Is that right?
Ron, you articulated better than I did. You're right. It's about 8% of the overall deposit. Oxide treatment is different from sulfide layer. Mm-hmm. And they are a terrific partner. We've been working with them since October. The teams are working very complementary. And Indian from October to the middle of next year is going to pay collectively overall $5 million net to Silver Elephant. In addition, they'll reimburse all operating, permitting, relationship expenses, transportation. So I can even claim this around. We're probably the only silver company that I am aware of that is making a cash, not only revenue but cash flow. Because every other silver company that I know of at the current silver prices are losing money on the overall cash balance sheet perspective.
Yeah. As I was researching for our discussion today, I was trying to think. I mean, you're not a royalty company, obviously. You're not a project generator, but this agreement that you have with them is very unique and very beneficial for the company, because it gives you some cash flow runway that will should prohibit you from needing to go to the market to do a diluted financing. Gives you some money, and I heard you talk recently that you referred to Silver Elephant as the boring company right now, but in a good way, meaning that you're conserving cash as we're going through what is a difficult period for all silver mining companies. But you've positioned the company to really be able to thrive when the market turns around.
Ron, if you look at just the last last 30 days or since middle of December, when there's a bit of a run up in silver, just in the last 10 days, you have people finance, say BlackRock Silver and the 20 million market cap announced a $7 million financing. I mean, that's like, and that's gonna run them for maybe 6 months. And they're gonna have to drill and make it an exciting company, not like a boring company. And then six months later, silver stays where we are. That's another big chunk of the dilution. So Elephant is not looking to is not undertaking any financing. And secondly, around the way we structured the deal is I've been around 20 years, and a lot of the guys are running this project, managing this project. They're transit, right? Because the current structure streamlines the administrative process. I don't need to know what the grades are. We're trucking this truck versus last truck. We don't need to plug the recovery. We don't need to plug the silver price. We don't need to plug the revenue and expenses, and like those kind of discussions we've had, and we just felt like it is counterintuitive to take on that pricing risk, and then also the administrative burden to try to administer some sort of profit sharing scheme based on the revenue realized from the operation with the partner. Just not a practical way of doing business. So you know what? If I can be guaranteed a payment of $5 million US, so long as the operation is ongoing over time, and so I let go a bit of upside. But then I protect my downside. I protect the livelihood, right? I protect the survivability of the company. I think that's working out quite well given the volatilities of the project. And even if silver had a big run of I think that would maybe in the next 6 weeks to over $30. That's 8%, right? And it is not even in a way, Ron, is synergistic because it's not extra work. I mean, these overburden, we have to dig the overburden out anyway. So somebody's paying us to dig the stuff out. They're taking it to their home. They're going to give us some money for it. And then once the wonderful project is exposed on the sulfide, which is really the mother lode, literally, figuratively, then we're ready to. Then I think that's the right time to get in the business. And the reason why we call ourselves the boring company, and we had that conversation 6 months ago. We're not expending a lot of money on marketing and G&A and investor relations, which is just myself. And then drilling, there's already 100 million ounces. We don't need to drill anymore to create a bit of a riz in the market. We don't need to do any of that because I'd rather do that when I see a clear path of value being created, right? When I mean value, that's a substantial elevation of the market cap from where we are. So that provides the company with the flexibility for the money that we invested into. Things are not necessarily required to continue our operation. And just anecdotal evidence. I mean, there's so little interest in the market right now. Yesterday or 2 days ago, earlier this week on Monday, just the index fund, right? Like $700 million, which is a drop in the bucket, rebalancing their portfolio. It wreaked havoc in the market. You have some juniors down 50%. You have some juniors up 50% in 2 days. In the entire market, even First Majestic is down 6%, even though they're the titans of the mining industry in silver, just because of a slight rebalancing of a small teeny fund in the sort of in the realm of the universe. Just shows you how tepid the current interests are, and we're just not interested in robbing Peter to pay Paul at this time, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Rather, I want to execute my business strategy. I want to demonstrate to the market that the project is scalable, remove that de-risking the project and demonstrate that, the project is beyond exploration development stage. We are complying environmentally with the government, with the local community, and that the project has checked off all the marks so that when new fresh of money come into the market, we can earn that credits and have these and be a beneficiary of this new capital that's coming into the market, which I think will be soon.
Yeah, it feels like to me that this arrangement you have with Andean is definitely a win-win situation, right? They have the plant, they have the capacity. You need to get rid of that surface layer material anyway. You're able to structure the deal in a way that it really doesn't cost the company anything, right? There's no drilling requirements. There's no real big geological requirements. So you're able to bring in a substantial amount of cash, which you're able to then manage on a conservative basis as you wait for the market to shift, to change. And then at that time, it becomes more cost effective, maybe when the share price increases, to think about raising possibly, it just becomes it's a smart way to be managing the business. And it's just fascinating to think that, that material would have to be taken away anyway. And like you said, you're retaining 92% of the mother lode. Is that sulfide material? Now that requires is there any possibility at some point that there could be a further partnership with Andean, or are there any thoughts on that?
Majority of Ron today's silver is sulfide, because oxides,
Okay.
as you said, usually happen. It's literally like sour milk, right? Because you leave the top layer exposed to surface. That's literally how silver is oxidized, quote unquote. So majority of the oxide material is long gone. Silver is sulfide is actually more common. I would say probably 80 to 90% of the silver is produced from sulfide. And there are many dozens of plants that process sulfide materials. So if we wish, we can continue this route. In fact, we're in discussion with a number of interested parties in the neighborhood that has sulfide processing facilities, just to bring them up to speed of what we're doing. And that if the capital market continue to be a struggle, then we might continue this route, but with a different partner.
Right.
And Ron, there's not just the benefit of getting rid of our top layer, but there's it's just not. There is actually other tangible benefits in that India is spending money on some of the infrastructure works to scale up the project. 1,000 tons per day is not a small feast.
Right.
And the road and community relationship, the royalty to the government, to township, so that protects us from. We're not going to be the first in line if anybody has any funny idea about and we've been working very well with the community, with the government. So I think that provides an extra layer of protection to the overall legal framework of our project, in protecting the project. And in terms of working with the Indian, I just cannot overemphasize how professional these people are, and we're working very well because they're working with 20 or 30 of these off-takers that are taking the feed into their plants. And we came from nowhere to now, I think, being their largest independent feed to their plants. And because we are communicative, we're transparent, and we're working very well together. They don't have to worry about if the price go up or come down, and then people asking to reopen the contracts. And so we're working very well, and we're looking to continue to be a major contributor to their success, Ron.
Yeah. And I want to talk about Bolivia, because I was interested to hear the CEO of Hecla Mining, Phillips Baker, recently in an interview say that he's looking at expanding the company. And one of the countries that he mentioned about expanding into was Latin American countries, and he specifically mentioned Bolivia. And I didn't realize what a large silver mining industry exists in Bolivia, and how it's really a very mining friendly country in which to operate. Is that what you're experiencing?
Right. First of all, Ron, I'm a shareholder of Hecla, and I
Oh.
have to say they are a company that I saw. They're very methodical in building a pipeline, and they're not afraid to venture into exploration stage companies and invest in a number of juniors across the world.
Yeah.
So world-class company, and the valuation certainly also reflects such.
Yeah.
In Bolivia, I mean, every country has its the pendulum swing, right? Like the Republican versus Democrats, and the here conservatives in Canada versus liberals. And Bolivia had over almost 2 decades of rhetorics of being afraid of colonialism. But so what that means, Ron, is creates an opportunity, because the foreign investment in Bolivia has been negative to neutral in the last 15 years. And interesting is, Bolivia, despite a lack of foreign investment, is the 6th largest silver producer in the world. It shares that vertical silver belt with Argentina. So there is, in theory, just as much as silver in Bolivia as is in Argentina. Actually produces more silver in Bolivia today than it is in Argentina. So if you look at the South America from the coast, Pacific coast, you have Peru. That's sort of the copper, and then sort of the trend then transitioning into silver and lead and zinc. So it's a well-defined trend in Bolivia. And the reason Bolivia is attractive because all the silver is still there. No, I don't think you go anywhere in the world and find oxide layers anymore, of course, of Pulacayo, because they'll be mined and explored. And that's why the opportunity is there. Everything's all about timing, Ron, in that the resources are vastly available, underexplored, underutilized, underdeveloped. But the political sentiment has also swung in opening for investments. Billions of dollars being poured into Bolivia, and the likes of Sumitomo of Japan. It's been mining San Cristobal silver deposits, one of the top 20 in the world without interruptions. And I think that there is the rhetorics, the politics, there's rhetorics versus action, right? I think Bolivia is one of those where they might say a lot just to appease the rhetorics to appease their constituents, but the locals, and then there's this different side that we have a good channel in reach out to the government in sort of how parties can work together to continue to contribute significant revenue. And Ron, the Bolivian mining revenue, I think 5 companies contribute to 80% of that revenue, because the locals, they don't pay taxes. They don't pay royalties. They don't report properly. They don't care for the environment. They still use cyanide. I visited a couple of projects. I'm not down talking that. It's just the state of the state of where they are, so the economics, how they're driven. But Bolivia is one of the few countries in South America that recognize that. I think they've been it's one of the most stable economies in South America, where their currency has been very stable and has enjoyed very steady growth in the last 15 years while this government is in place. So while this has its own challenges in that things sometimes just go quite slow in moving things along, but so long you play by the rule and you engage local communities, and we find the country to be very manageable and enjoyable, actually, Ron.
Yeah. I know there's big benefits to be had through responsible mining for communities and countries like Bolivia, and I think that when companies demonstrate that they are responsible, and that the communities welcome them and the countries welcome them.
Not just being responsible, but treat them as a partner, because we have. You got to spend time in the ground. You got to talk to them. This is not like doing BlackBerries and 2 emails in and then sign a contract. In the world they're doing business, which I've been doing for 20 years, is what I call around the rule of law, which unfortunately increasingly playing less and less significance across the world. And the rule of logic. What I mean by the rule of logic is, if you sign a contract with the local community paying $3,000 a month for school money or milk money, all of a sudden you discover a world-class deposit, you kind of expect the contract to hold, Ron, because the internet age, they know your stock price as well as anybody else, or the size of the deposit or potential revenue you can generate. They can read financial statements versus not like 20 years ago. So the rule
Right.
of logic dictated that you got to be practical and reasonable, not just play by the rule
Yeah.
of law. And the
Yeah.
third one is very, very important also, is the rule of relationships. Because if you play the rule of logic, then the shareholder is going to lose their pants. Because the rule of logic would then be, well, they own the project, they live there, they breathe there, it's their silver. So by logic, you should be getting 1%, they should be getting 99%, right? So the rule of a relationship is being able to communicate with them, see all sides of the coins, and see that, and be very, and have the confidence knowing that we're in the ride together. Otherwise, you cannot just have the rule of logic dictate the economics, because you're gonna get fleeced. And certainly by the rule of law, that wouldn't work literally in today's world much at all. Even in the United States, where you have record of decision repealed in the Iron Belt states, just because Aboriginal or a I'm just saying that, you know, the rule of law is playing decreasing significance, and now to be successful in the mining business in particular, you've got to be really turned upside down. The rule of relationship, number one, followed by the rule of logic.
Yeah, and to be fair with people, and that's really refreshing, John, to hear you say that, because I sense that you're genuinely looking to partner with the people in Bolivia, and that's good for them, but that's also good for the company, good for the shareholders. It's okay to be fair, it's okay to be nice, and everybody comes out ahead.
Well, you know, Ron, if you just talk about real logic or meaning money, right? A dollar is a dollar. You're in direct. It's never sort of, we're in the close. It's either yours or it's mine, right? So you have to say, you know what, we're helping with this, and in the long term, we try to, you know, this money you're giving us, you're getting us. We're investing in the project. We try to grow the project. We try to build this plan. You got to understand that the payback, right, is 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. So they gotta see, we gotta see from their point of view, and they gotta see from our point of view. That's the only way that we're able to make this work. So, for example, I first visited Pulacayo in 2005, and the current Pulacayo town union leader is he's actually lowest. Younger than me, he's probably in his early 40s, late 30s. I'm almost 50. I was there when he was just a youngster in his 20s when I first visited Pulacayo 15 years ago. So we have that bond where we can speak very candid, right? And because you gotta have allies from the other side, because even within themselves, they have politics, just like we have our own politics with our shareholders, with our management, with our board. So we gotta be able to work together. And appease our own group of people, and then we have to then bridge that gap amongst ourselves. It's not an easy task, but it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort and understanding and patience. And in hindsight, Ron, I came from a .com industry. If I were to do it again, well, I don't know, but I certainly enjoyed its karma and its fate. I certainly enjoyed you know, what I've done in the last 14 years, even though our share price hasn't reflected that. But if I were to hang my hat after this run up, I would say, you know, I wouldn't chosen it any other way. It's meant to be, and I've just in the last 20 years made friends with a lot of wonderful people that I would never have if I'd stayed in Silicon Valley, or just being an investor, working with my accountants and with my trader.
Yeah, but made relationships with what I imagine are some real, genuine people, and have had the opportunity to actually help directly and see how you can help people in those communities through the development of projects and mines. You mentioned the dollar earlier. I want to wrap up with some numbers, because I'm an old accountant. What I think are some astounding numbers when I look at the value opportunity presented by your company right now. Unless I'm mistaken, the total market cap in US dollars is about 7 million right now.
Yes.
Is that okay? Yes. Okay. That is what it is. Yes. You have 100 million ounces plus of silver. That value equates to about 7 cents per ounce for silver, which is just unbelievable given the quality of the deposit, The other thing I want to mention is with that market cap level, let's circle back to what you said earlier. You've signed this offtake agreement, partnership agreement with Andean. That's going to bring in almost $5 million. When you compare these numbers, all the mining stocks have been, to one degree or another, have gone through a very difficult period. The value opportunities are astonishing, but I think in many cases, and I would definitely put Silver Elephant into this category, this is almost like, me bringing you a quarter and you giving me $1 back, even though I don't like paper dollars. Nonetheless, it's almost like trading quarters for dollars. Any comments on the value proposition right now?
Ron, I'm a chartered financial analyst, so I do have fiduciary duty to professional integrity. Based on my knowledge in the silver market, Silver Elephant is the best value company with full disclosure, given Silver Elephant pay me, I'm a full-time employee. Right. Based on the following matrix, based on the valuation of the company divided by the number of ounces of silver in the ground. So we're like 7 cents an ounce. I don't know any companies that that's trading publicly traded with this valuation.
Wait, I want to interrupt you, John. And you're generating cash flow. You're essentially mining right now as well. I had to throw that.
I think even on a producer, I'm talking even for exploration lead companies where the best value for ounces in the ground. But if you're a producer, then that valuation is got another bump, right? So the second one is if you look at the revenue. Valuation revenue, so it's revenue versus about revenue valuation. We're gonna bring in sorry, if you look at cash flow, if you look at operating cash flow, we're bringing in $5 million cash flow minimum, so long as the operation continues. Majority of the mining companies I know, not so much earning, but if you look at their balance sheet and how their cash is being depleted, they're all negative. So we are one of the very few companies that has operating cash flow. And then third one, if you look at another matrix, which is often used by the fund managers, which is production. At our current run rate, we will be on track to produce around 2 million ounces of silver. Granted, we don't have the plant, the arrangement is different, we don't have the upside. But the caveat on the takeaway though is, if we can mine 1,000 tons per day for oxide, we can mine 1,000 tons per day sulfide. So that we've demonstrated that we're capable from legal, from financial, from technical, from community relationship to accommodate at a minimum of 1,000 tons per day, right? So then when the time comes, when the sulfide is exposed, then we'll be having 1,000 tons per day. That's 2 million ounces a year. By all these matrix, you can justify valuation even today at 10 times. I can cite some companies with 100 million ounces of silver in the ground for 100 million. But they got a haircut, 30% down in a day because the rebalancing of the funds. So right now, Ron, I would say valuation is not so much are not science per se with this matrix, but it's more art in that it really depends on your shareholder structure, right? It's really depending on your shareholder structure. But right now, Ron, it's very hard to get more shareholders. Most of them are ducking for cover. So that's why we're laying low. But rest assured, when the time comes, when the silver market resumes its bull over $28, which I think will happen before May of this year. All this new capital, new money, we're gonna make a very go at it to very convincing case on all matrix of measures that Elephant got to be your top candidates as a matter of new investments.
Yeah. I mean, we have exploration companies out there that are valued more richly. In their drilling, they don't even know for sure.
No ounces in the ground. We have companies trading at $40-50 million, 0 ounces proven in the ground.
Right.
So, and you know what, Ron? That's another thing. Right? There's lovers and there are haters. I just got back in Vancouver, and then I will go to a restaurant and say, "Oh, that's John Lee. I haven't seen you in a long time. I want to thank you. You helped me pay for my mortgage." By Silver Elephant. Then you get it, and then there goes, "Oh, you're that guy, right? I lost my daughter's school money." Well, first of all, you should never invest your daughter's education funds in speculative investments. Right. But I think, Ron, to go back to my point, something we love about, something that's good about exploration or mining companies, it's an ounce as an ounce. Elephant's ounce, John Lee's ounce is no different from, say, Abra Plata's ounce, Argentina, which has gone through 100% inflation in the last 3 months. And so I think these love and hate out of in the doghouse versus sort of the VIP treatment, which Elephant had only 3 years ago when its $100 million market cap was silver was $28, which is only $5 from where we are. We're a $100 million market cap with the same number of ounces that are not in production. So Ron, I've been around for 20 years. The pendulum will swing to the other way, and we just gotta be patient. We don't want to make mistakes. We gotta really continue to continue to maintain the status quo. And then there's gonna be a time to be on the offensive. So we're just biding our time, waiting for the right moment.
The boring company
Boring
for
company.
now.
Look, Rod, if you look at the First Majestic Delight, right, some of the companies are down 30, 40, 50% since we talked.
Yeah.
But we're where we are. There's no sellers.
Right.
Okay, so Xiangbo, there's no buyers either. That's right, because nobody's buying, right? So and then so you know what, we're just biding our time, but I'm sure that when there's new infusion of capitals from the generalists, from the algos, from the citadels, right? We're a producer, so we should be inclusive in all the index funds. But right now we're just too small, thin on liquidity. Yeah. It will change, Ron.
Yep. The boring company that's generating some profit and has 100 million ounces of silver in the ground. That's not too boring to me. But John, thank you for joining me. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you about, or any closing thoughts that you want to mention?
Ron, metals investors are not for the lighthearted, and I've been around for 23 years in the mining industry. Unfortunately, like I said, things are all heavily managed. There's no price discovery. So in the commodity, in the metals and mining business, in particular silver, is you're gonna have to wait for 5-10 years and for that 2 weeks of sunshine. But when it shines, you'll be standing on the top of the Himalaya, enjoy all the patience, enjoy all your fruits of labor, but only happens in that 2 weeks. And goes back to my favorite, and I can tell you a lot of reasons for that. It's going to be another 10-minute conversation. We can have another day. But I'll just say, based on what I've seen and studied and his historical context, every time silver runs, it will capture that 200-300% of gain also for mining companies in less than 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. It is critically important, and borrowing the phrase from my favorite book, Reminiscent Stock Operator, is you have seen many people that capture the bottom, but invariably the most money is made by those, not by these people that capture the bottom, but it's by those that sit tight and wait. So you, in fact, catching the bottom like we are right now, Ron, at $22.10 only a week ago, it might be a curse and a blessing, because you say, oh, I caught the bottom, let's sell at 23, and then I can get back in again at 22.20, right? It's a stroke of luck than anything else. I mean, preparation helps, but if you catch the bottom, it's 90% luck and 10% preparation analysis. You don't want to get too caught up in your self-confidence, in thinking that you can sell early and really establish your entry point. Right now, I am vindictive. I am convinced that you got to establish a core and let it sit. A margin, just let it sit for 4 to 6 weeks. And by March, look at the situation. And there's some indicators, like I said, right? First, silver mining company divided by silver ratio, the gold to silver ratio, the dollar index, whether it's hitting resistance or support, the state of the equity market, the interest rates. I think there are some variables you can sort of gauge what inning we are. But in this current run, we're in the first one inning, like we're like not even finishing the first inning of a 9-inning run. But that inning is going to go fast and furious. So I just want to share this 20-year insight with investors that all your labor, patience is going to be paid off, but make sure that you are there to collect and not to head to the exit too early, because next time you do that, it's going to be another 5 to 10 years from now, unfortunately.
Yep. Sit tight and know that you're right. That's also one of my favorite books, Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, I think it is. Yes. Patience and not trying to time perfectly the market. I think you offered some great wisdom. John, on behalf of myself, the viewers, thank you so much for your time and your insights. I want to mention to everyone, Silver Elephant is traded on the TSX exchange under the symbol ELEF, and in the United States on the OTC SILEF. I'll put links to the company website in the description below. And John, we're going to look forward to future conversations with you.
Oh, one more note. Yes, happy Chinese New Year. That's February the 10th. And just be careful because last time there's a significant Asian holiday, which is the national holiday of China. Silver experienced a very big dump October the 1st. That took about a week to recover. So make sure that if you're leveraged, that you want to deleverage, prior to the Thursday leading up to February the 10th. And so I think that would be that's another valuable nugget I want to make sure I would deliver to your audience. Ron?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we know there's no funny business that goes on in the silver market, right? Thank you, John. Have a great day.
Best wishes.